Imagine a world where two superpowers stand nose to nose, stockpiling nuclear weapons, each ready to press a button that could end humanity. Yet, they never fire a shot. Welcome to the Cold War, one of the most tense, dramatic, and complex periods in modern history. To understand the Cold War, we first need to rewind to the end of World War II. The Allies, led by the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, defeated Nazi Germany. But this victory revealed a new challenge. Two very different ideologies were about to clash. In the late 1940s, Stalin's Soviet Union extended its influence across Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, the US implemented the Truman Doctrine, promising to stop the spread of communism. These actions set the stage for an ideological standoff. The world was effectively split into two blocks: the Eastern Bloc, controlled by the Soviet Union, and the Western Bloc, led by the United States. And the line between them? Germany's capital, Berlin, where tension was brewing. This division would eventually lead to the Berlin Blockade in 1948, the first major Cold War crisis. The Berlin airlift became a symbol of resilience and defiance, as Allied planes supplied West Berlin around the clock for almost a year, defying the Soviet blockade. While the Cold War was mostly a cold standoff, it often got hot in places like Korea, Vietnam, and later Cuba. But perhaps the most frightening episode of all came in 1962 with the Cuban Missile Crisis. In the end, diplomacy won, and both leaders stepped back from the brink. But the Cold War was far from over. It just found new battlegrounds. The Cold War wasn't just about politics. It was also a race to dominate space and technology. After the Soviets launched Sputnik in 1957, the US felt it had to catch up. This led to the space race, with both sides pouring billions into getting to the moon. By 1969, the US landed the first humans on the moon. This was a huge victory for the West, but the competition never really stopped. Both sides continued to stockpile nuclear weapons in a terrifying arms race, each side afraid of the other gaining the upper hand. As we moved into the 1980s, the Cold War began to thaw. The Soviet Union faced economic struggles, while Ronald Reagan in the US pushed for military buildup, but also worked with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev on arms control. Reagan famously challenged Gorbachev with his famous line, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." And in 1989, the Berlin Wall, symbol of the divided world, finally came down. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War, as Eastern Europe broke away from Soviet influence. By 1991, the Soviet Union itself collapsed, ending the Cold War era. The Cold War may be over, but its impact is all around us. NATO and Russia are still at odds, the arms race has evolved, and new global powers have emerged. The Cold War set the stage for modern geopolitics. Thanks for watching. History may be behind us, but the stories it left are still worth telling. Until next time, remember, understanding the past is key to navigating our future.